Went broke in the stupidest ways.
Before filing for bankruptcy, 50 Cent
The
was
reason I'm watching this is because it's Sunny V2 video, and Sunny V2 has the best videos. Like, this guy makes really awesome videos.
spending $108,000 per month to rent an 18-bedroom mega mansion, while T-Pain's bankruptcy was so brutal that by the end of it, he had to borrow money just to buy Burger King.
Imagine,
However,
bro.
let's begin by talking about DMX, who had to file for bankruptcy on 3 separate occasions as he couldn't afford child support. You see, DMX had 17 children with 11 different women, and almost every child resulted in some kind of lawsuit or child support requirement. For example, DMX was sued for $1.5 million worth of child support in 2008 after a genetic test confirmed that he was the father of a previously unclaimed baby, which when combined with his declining music career, resulted in his first bankruptcy filing.
Yeah, like, do they know that condoms exist and like protection is a thing?
4 years later, in 2012, DMX was sued by a different ex-partner for a further $1 million worth
If nothing, then like after pill at least, like
of child support, and a year after this lawsuit, he'd file for bankruptcy a second time. His third bankruptcy would occur in 2016, during which it would be discovered that DMX had racked up a further $1.7 million worth of unpaid child and family support, which accompanied $950,000 in bank debt and $1.7 million worth of tax debt. Since he had $0 in his bank account, DMX was sentenced to 6 months in prison for the child support, a further year in prison for the unpaid taxes, and was also ordered to pay the government $2.29 million in restitution after he was released from his time behind bars. However, DMX never had the chance to pay the amount back in full, as he'd die in April 2021, and despite his extensive family tree, DMX never wrote a will, meaning that his family was still involved in money-related legal battles even after he was dead and buried. Tiger was certainly
shit, he ruined the life of so many people and his own life as well. Protection, condom, guys, like anything, any type of protection, like anything, bro.
better at managing his child support payments,
Tiger?
although he definitely had a
Is the guy
weakness
with
when
Kylie
it came
Jenner?
to luxury spending. After cultivating his career as a successful
Her
rapper,
ex?
Tiger's name entered news headlines after he'd purchased a $200,000 Mercedes Maybach for his girlfriend, while being $480,000 behind in rental payments.
Bruh, you don't pay your rent, but you buy a car for your girlfriend. Like, your priorities are so
On a
bad.
luxury Malibu home. As a result, Tiger was sued by his landlord, although he'd failed to show up to court as he was on holiday in Turks and Caicos. Yet this situation wasn't the only example of Tiger spending big in one area while being financially behind in another. For example, in 2016, while shopping for a new Bentley, Tiger's Ferrari 458 was repossessed in the parking lot as Tiger hadn't been paying for the loan. Despite
He didn't pay for one car while buying another car.
Despite this, Tiger would go on to purchase another Mercedes Maybach, as well as a Land Rover, a Rolls-Royce Ghost,
Dude, like, the worst thing you can do, whether you're rich or poor, I don't care. Don't buy cars. Don't, like, buy one car that you can use from A to B and that's it. Cars are the worst investment you can spend your money on.
and a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, all of which were repossessed for non-payment, while he was seen looking at a brand new Lamborghini. In addition to this, Tiger was sued by a second landlord for $181,000 after once again missing rental payments in 2016, which was followed by a third property-related lawsuit in 2020, where Tiger had racked up over $200,000 in damages and unpaid rent on yet another rental property. It was then revealed that Tiger was being court-ordered to pay for $200,000 worth of unpaid jewelry, which accompanied the accusation.
Yeah, but everything had to be taking a picture of, putting on Instagram, being in the news. This is the thing, you know, like, they're all show off their bling bling, but they don't even have that. It's not even their bling bling.
By his ex-girlfriend Black China that he'd been missing child support payments, and just to add a cherry on top of the cake, while all of this was going down, Tiger was in $890,000 worth of tax debt to the government. Despite all of this, Tiger is still seen flexing a lavish life on social.
Yeah. Look at my stuff that I don't even own, that are not mine.
social media, which is a luxury unavailable to rap producer Scott Storch, who blew through $70 million in less than 3 years. Scott had earned this money by producing for some of the biggest names in music, including Kanye West, Dr. Dre, and Jay-Z. Yet Scott Storch's insane net worth began to diminish after he'd purchased an insane supercar collection,
30 cars, including Bugattis and Ferraris and all that kind of stuff,
as well as a 10 point.
I feel like their biggest mistake is cars. All of these guys.
$5 million mansion where he housed more than 20 staff, including a boat captain, just in case he wanted to go out on his yacht.
Wait. He had a captain the whole time?
The captain was on full-time staff?
Yeah.
In case you want to take the boat out?
Yeah.
And the boat was how many bedrooms?
7.
7-bedroom boat, worth about how much?
20 million.
20 million.
Scott went on to explain just how much this lifestyle was costing him.
My monthly overhead for my household employees was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million a month I was spending.
And that if he continued to work, there wouldn't have been any problems, although this isn't what he would do.
It went from me working and delivering to doing drugs and not going to the studio.
I just stopped working, and then I got depressed and jaded.
As mentioned, Scott stopped making music and instead began to get addicted to the nightlife in Miami. And with no money coming in plus $1 million a month going out, it was only going to be so long before Scott hit zero. By 2009, just 3 years after having a net worth of $70 million, Scott had filed for bankruptcy. 6 years later, Scott would file for bankruptcy a second time, claiming to have a grand total of $3,600 of assets to his name, $100 in cash, $500 in clothing, and a $3,000 watch. Most shocking, his music
From all those cars to $3,000 overall.
companies are valued at $0, and in 2014 he made
How
a
low
grand
can you
total of
go?
only $10,000. Throughout this hardship, Fat
10,000
Joe was
a
one of
year,
the only
bro.
rappers to keep their friendship with Scott, possibly because Fat Joe went through a similar situation himself. Fat Joe had earned $1.18 million in 2007, $1.28 million in 2008, $265,000 in 2009, and $630,000 in 2010. However, despite having made this $3.3 million in only 4 years, Fat Joe failed to pay taxes on it. He was able to come up with $718,000 and had also done extensive charity work. However, this wasn't enough to satisfy the judge, who sentenced Fat Joe to 4 months in prison. Despite taking personal responsibility for his actions by stating, "There was a lot going on in the years that I didn't file my taxes, but it was my responsibility," less than 4 years later, Fat Joe entered news headlines again after the IRS revealed that he still owed them $1.1 million in taxes. However, this number
Why didn't they pay their taxes? Like, you're playing with the worst enemy ever. You don't pay your taxes. There is no evading that. Eventually, they'll find out. They're gonna take you to prison. You will have to pay. And not only small amounts, you're gonna have to pay extra amounts.
was absolutely nothing in comparison to Fat Joe's friend Lil Kim, who owed almost 4 times more and became, quote, too poor to file for bankruptcy. Lil Kim wasn't nearly as successful as some of the other rappers featured on this list. However, this didn't stop her from purchasing a $2.3 million mansion back in 2002, notably
That's her home? That looks like a facility for something. Doesn't even look homey at all. That looks like where you go to see if you have like some diseases or some like to check up for stuff.
with the help of a mortgage. Throughout the 2000s, Kim's music career slowed dramatically, and by 2018, Kim was filing for bankruptcy as she still owed the full $2 million on her property, despite the 16 years that had passed.
Was a
In
thing
addition
back
to this,
then.
Kim now owed $1.85 million to the government for
Like a doctor
13
clinic,
years worth
yeah,
of
rehab
unpaid
center,
taxes, which
exactly.
accompanied a further $185,000 in unpaid legal fees. The bankruptcy became even worse after discovering that by 2018, Kim
Hey bro, 18,000 monthly income, that's good. What are you talking about? I mean, yeah, if you have to pay taxes for millions and stuff.
was earning a comparatively small $18,000 per month, of which $2,000 went to staff, another $2,000 went to clothing,
What staff for $2,000 and $2,000 in clothing every month?
and $10,000 went to travel fees.
$10,000 traveling every month?
meaning she had less than $4,000 per month to dig herself out of $4 million worth of debt. Somehow Lil Kim managed to, quote, get her finances into good shape, and her bankruptcy filing was dismissed. However, MC Hammer wasn't quite so lucky. Despite having the 5th best-selling hip-hop album of all time, which sold 17 million copies and featured songs such as You Can't Touch This, MC Hammer wasn't able to stay out of financial trouble. He bought more than 17 luxury cars, a private jet, 2 helicopters, and
does he think he's a sheikh or something? Like, does he think he lives in Saudi Arabia on like, I don't know, like what the hell? He bought 17 luxury cars, a private jet, he has a jet and 2 helicopters, and 21 race horses.
21 racehorses. Some of the horses were valued at around $1 million. Most of his expenses, however, were on his home. He bought a property in Fremont, California for $12 million and spent another $30 million on renovations to turn it into his dream home.
Single.
He added a bowling alley, basketball court, baseball field, recording studio, movie theater, 17-car garage, tennis courts, and 2 swimming pools to the 40,000 square foot mansion. One of the pools was shaped like his signature baggy pants that came to be known as Hammer Pants. He added several marble statues of himself throughout the property.
He even made marble statues of himself. This man is so delusional. He's so full of himself. Like, he loves himself more than, I don't know, more than his mother loves him. Like,
bedroom. And to keep everything running smoothly, he employed a staff of nearly 200 people on the property, which cost him an estimated $500,000 a month. Unsurprisingly, less than 5 years later, MC Hammer had filed for bankruptcy, at which point it had been revealed that he hadn't only spent his entire $70 million fortune, but had also taken on a further $13 million in loans, which had been borrowed from over 200 different lending institutions. Despite having spent a total of $42 million on his California.
Look how big this is. Bruh, you don't need that in your life.
Your dream home, the property resold for only $6.5 million. However, if we're on the topic of expensive homes being repossessed by the bank, we need to talk about Birdman, who's ranked as the 15th richest rapper in the world with a net worth of $110 million. But this is what makes Birdman's story unique. If he was worth over $100 million, why was his Miami mansion being repossessed by the bank for non-payment? Birdman had purchased the home back in 2012 for $14.5 million, yet by 2017
Dude, you really don't need this in your life, but it does look really pretty. If you have your whole family and everyone working and paying for it, like, I would understand.
Foreclosure suit had been filed by the bank, and quote, all personal items within the home, including platinum records gracing the walls, a pool table, and dozens of pairs of shoes, were all confiscated and placed in storage. The mansion was eventually sold by the bank for $10.85 million in July 2020. However, Birdman's lawyer has come out to explain the foreclosure, stating that it was the result of illegal loan terms set by the bank, so perhaps take Birdman's bankruptcy with a grain of salt. However, there's no ambiguity around how T-Pain went broke, as he's now come on
Isn't T-Pain the streamer?
multiple podcasts to explain just how brutal his bankruptcy was. T-Pain had built up a net worth of over
Yeah, T-Pain is now a Twitcher, you guys. He's fine. T-Pain is fine. He got us.
$40 million at his peak in 2007, with all of his closest rap friends advising him that as long as he kept rapping, the money would keep on coming in.
Everybody before me that I had to look up to, they were just like, no, this is great. Once you start rapping, it's just money all the time. Nothing bad's ever gonna happen. Your family's not gonna come after you. Just rap, and it's just girls and swimming pools after this.
For this reason, his spending began to get out of control.
I bought my Bugatti.
You bought it for $2.1 million.
$2.1 million.
And then you, very shortly thereafter, you sold it for, all they gave you was $800,000.
Yeah.
You buy it for $2 million and...
So it was like renting a car for $1.3 million.
Yeah.
With the purchase of
like, he lost almost $2 million in that one. You lose on cars. You never win on cars. That's the worst investment. Houses, in a way, you can understand. Like, buy a house, rent it, you can still earn money. Eventually, like, you can get the money back. Even now, like, with property and houses, it's becoming more and more expensive. And if it's in a place where it's really becoming like a better place for living and stuff, then that's a good idea. But with cars, you always lose.
Bugatti accompanying a $400,000 chain
win on
and
cars
houses
50
for his
years later.
workmates.
I got this house I want to get. I got this other house for
You're
my
not
assistants.
alive
and,
until
you know, all
then.
my runners and my
vintage
producers
cars,
and stuff.
bro.
So we bought a house after that.
It's
and
mass
we just started
production
going
for
crazy with
cars.
money I wouldn't pay.
Only if you buy a car that is like really, really, really extra special and there's like just a couple of them in the world. Then I would understand, like, it's a vintage car, you keep it, you save it, and then eventually it's gonna become a vintage car, and you know what. But it's mass-produced, these cars now.
Paying attention to it.
Which was extra bad as T-Pain never even checked in on how much money he had.
I didn't want to know because I was led to believe that it's only gonna grow. Because these rappers told me that I'm just gonna make money forever. It's just gonna keep going up and up.
In the process, T-Pain began to create less music, and within a few years, his accountant was advising him that he was almost out of money.
My accountant was like, dude, you're like out of money. And I was like, no, I'm not.
And while T-Pain seemed confident that he
they
had
don't wanna
plenty
believe.
of cash left, reality set in for him after he'd have to borrow money just to buy food.
When you say you was broke, you had like $0 broke?
I had to borrow money to get my kids Burger King.
What's the most you ever had in the bank at one time?
40 million.
However, T-Pain was lucky to get away with a loss of only 40 million, as the final person on our list makes this number.
And he didn't mention that T-Pain is on Twitch now. And he started streaming.
Look like loose change. 50 Cent. 50 didn't only release the 10
Dude, like, I don't understand how this happened with 50 Cent. He was the thing, bro. Like, I listened to 50 Cent in 2003. I was a teenager. I listened to 50 Cent. He was a thing, you know?
best-selling American hip-hop album of all time, but he also made over $100 million on a vitamin water investment, plus a further $78 million from a luxury underwear deal. In the late 2000s, 50 Cent made an estimated $300 million in only 2 years, so when it announced that he was filing for bankruptcy in mid-2015, with debts totaling over $32 million, the entire world was thinking the same thing. How did this happen? Well, after 50 Cent uploaded a sex tape with Rick Ross's girlfriend, 50 was successfully sued for $7 million, which accompanied another court order for 50 Cent to pay
Oh, so it's cars or girls? Women. Okay.
$17 million to a headphone manufacturer after one of their collabs went sour. 50 Cent's clothing company G-Unit Clothing then fell out of the spotlight, which accompanied the closing of his movie company G-Unit Productions, as well as his boxing company SMS Promotions. Throughout the whole process, the global financial crisis had taken a toll on the value of 50 Cent's investments, and by 2015 he was earning a comparatively small $185,000 per month. You could certainly argue that this
small $180,000 per month. Man, I don't see that money in 3 years of working.
This was enough for 50 to get back on his feet.
I need
However,
like 10 years to get
$108,000
that
of this monthly income was going toward an 18-bedroom mega mansion, while the remaining $77,000 was going toward menial expenses such as his gardener, with bankruptcy documents revealing that 50 Cent still owed money to his stylist, fitness coach, and even his barber. Despite this, he began to troll on social media with posts such as this one, spelling out the word broke with $100 bills, and within 2 years, 50 Cent had paid back $23 million worth of his $32 million debt. 50 Cent eventually got back to zero, and according to Google,
they like work? I understand, like when they have this, why don't he just start producing music again?
Google has built up a net worth of $40 million over the last 5 years.
Or does he need to spend money on music and he doesn't have? I don't know, like, and there's some of these songs that no way it's only $180,000 on his songs, man. You see Mariah Carey every Christmas? Mariah Carey earns so much money from the Christmas songs she has. And she makes Christmas shows every year almost. And that's all her career. Since she came up with that Christmas banger, that's it. She doesn't have to create any new music. That's when you know how, but okay, yeah, she Christmas every year. That's for her, it was not. Make a Christmas song. That's the best idea. Make a banging Christmas song, a holiday song that is going to be on repeat every single year. You can't go wrong with that. Banging Christmas song banger. Yeah, labels take a lot of money. True. It's crazy. So, what did we learn? Whatever goes up, it must eventually go down. So don't waste your money on cars. Also, why am I getting 3 of my videos recommended to me? Me. Recommended to other people, not me.